Hello there, and welcome to the 7th episode of the VictorPrep Vocab podcast. This is Sam, as always, and I have to start today's episode with a few technical details and an apology for my ineptness. So, I realized that I was recording the first few podcasts at quite a low volume level, which may have made it hard to hear, and you'd have had to turn up the volume quite a lot to hear me well enough. So that's my big mistake as a new podcaster, I guess. So what I've done is I've actually re-recorded the first 6 podcasts and replaced the audio files. So anyone new downloading the podcast would get the updated files with the new loudness values. Of course, that doesn't stop anyone who is an existing listener from downloading the new files too. So you can do that, and that's obviously an option for you. But if you're okay with the original quieter files, that's okay too. But my apologies for that. Another thing I got wrong is that I actually exported the original files as VBR MP3s, which means the bitrate of the MP3 varied throughout the file, which meant that the durations wouldn't show correctly in some audio players. So again, my apologies. In those new recordings of the first 6 podcasts, I have put them as constant bitrate MP3 files. I know it's getting a little technical here, but that should mean the durations show properly. So, sorry about those things. Like I keep saying, I'm quite new to this, and probably still going to make mistakes. But please point them out to me, let me know, and I'll try and fix them ASAP and keep you updated. So, as usual, I'm going to cover the words we went through last time in episode 6 and test you on them. So I'm going to read out each word, and I want you to mentally think about what it means. If you can, pause the recording, think about it. If you can't pause the recording, you can do it in your head. No big deal. So the 4 words were mar, multifarious, flout, and lumber. Now, what did those mean? Well, mar, that means to damage something, to spoil something, make it less attractive, scribbling on someone's nice painting they've made, something like that. Multifarious, that means having many different parts or different forms. It can also mean varied, very different, lots of different things, or diverse. So our example was Leonardo da Vinci has multifarious talents. Flout, that was our 3rd word, and flout meant to treat something with disdain, to treat something with no respect, basically, to show contempt. So your teacher may have had some rules at school and you may have just laughed at them. That was to flout those rules. Lumber was our final word from episode 6, and lumber, in this sense, meant to move slowly and heavily. Maybe like a big elephant or a hippopotamus. So, especially clumsily and heavily. And often, this lumber is associated with weight, heaviness, or bulk. That was our 4 words from last time, and let's do some new words. So, our 4 new words today are demure, debutante, propitiate, and toady. So, our first word is demure. That is spelled D-E-M-U-R, demure. And to demure, it's a verb, means to make objection to something. That means basically to disagree. It can also mean to hesitate. So, an example that I made up would be, my schoolmates and I were involved in a food fight once. A teacher caught me and tried to get me to tell on my friends, but I demurred due to my sense of honor. Demure means to hesitate or to make an objection to something, perhaps almost to disagree in a way. Perhaps if you were a politician and another politician tries to get you to vote on a certain matter in court or parliament, and you disagree because you think it's morally wrong, you can say you demur. You have an objection. You disagree with that. And demure is often associated with objections based on morality, for example, or scruples, which means you think something is morally against your own code. Our second word is debutante. That's D-E-B-U-T-A-N-T-E, debutante. And that means quite simply a young woman making a debut into society. A debut just means her first appearance in society. Now, debutantes, these women making a debut into society, would often be upper class, very wealthy, associated with a certain way of living, a rich way of living. So you can often think of a princess being a debutante. My example was, the young princess was the most beautiful debutante the men of the court had ever seen. So, to remember this word debutante, you could think of a princess. Think of someone rich, high society. Of course, if you know the word debut, which means someone doing something for the first time, debutante is going to be quite easy to remember. Now, our third word is propitiate. Propitiate. That's P-R-O-P-I-T-I-A-T-E. Propitiate. Now, that means to regain the favor of someone else. That someone else could be a person, that could be a god, it could be a spirit, and you are trying to regain their favor by doing something good for them. So you could say, I tried to propitiate the teacher with an apple after accidentally spilling coffee on his prize poodle. So you've made someone angry, you've angered a god, and you want to make them feel better. You want to propitiate them. That is what that word means. So think of your example. Think of who you're trying to propitiate. Think of a time when you've made someone angry or displeased someone and you've tried to get their favor back. You've tried to make them happy and love you again. You have tried to propitiate them. Our final word of today fits in with propitiate quite well, actually, because that word is toady. Toady. That is T-O-A-D-Y, toady, not to be mistaken with the animal, the toad. However, toady in some ways does relate to the animal, because toads are often seen in a certain light, the animal I mean, as unpleasant animals. And toady is an unpleasant word, because a toady is a person who behaves in a very crawling, sycophantic way to people. So if you know someone who's always trying to be overly nice to someone in power or to someone in charge, they're always trying to win favor by flattering someone, but in a very unpleasant or creepy way, as though they're doing it too much. It's one thing to be nice to someone or to be good to people, but we all know someone who's overly nice because they want to get something out of it. You can tell it's perhaps fake in a way. Other words for this are obsequious. That's another really good word. And in fact, that's a GRE word too, obsequious. A flatterer. A sycophant. Someone who's only trying to be really nice because they think they're going to get something from it. So, my colleague at work is such a toady. He tried to win favor with our boss by elaborately praising his new haircut, but it was totally obvious and felt very fake. So, when you're trying to remember what toady means, you could think of a person who's a bit like a toad. They're unpleasantly trying to be overly nice to you to win your favor. And you know it's a little bit fake, that they don't really mean that. They're not trying to be nice. They're just trying to get something out of it. That is a toady. Now, as usual, I'm going to go over 4 sentences which refer to the day's words, but without actually using those words. And I want you to think about the sentence and how it relates to today's words and which word I'm referring to. This is just a test to see if you understand what the words mean. My old company wanted me to help them sell our customers' user data to a marketing agency, but I made an objection to this because I felt that it was morally wrong. Every man has known the feeling of forgetting an anniversary for their loved one, and then trying frantically to find some method, some way of winning back their favour. I've read some great Russian novels that talk about grand and elegant balls and beautiful young women who attract great attention from the local eligible bachelors when first making their appearance. There was a boy at my school who never missed an opportunity to compliment or flatter our teacher. It made all the rest of us feel a little sick. So, those are our 4 words for today. Thanks for listening, and as always, please hit me up by the usual methods, Twitter @SamFold, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, if I've done something wrong again, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Oh, and one more thing. I'm probably going to set up a website for the podcast, and that's just so people can make comments and I can make some actual blog posts about the words, which might help people, and just to give people an area where perhaps they can talk to other people who are taking a GRE or taking an English test or taking an SAT, and they're exchanging strategies on the words, and also just to give me a place where I can mention any news about the podcast. For example, if I made a mistake and I've released a correction episode or something like that. So, once again, thank you. Bye-bye.